true believers, and welcome back to another episode of Behind the Mask, where I give you a little sneak peek into the things I have going on with the production side of things here at Meganimanic studio. Today I have a few things I want to go over, including upcoming content, a few notes on my previous videos, and a glimpse into the future of the channel. But first I just want to give a big warm welcome to all of the new subscribers that just joined. So hello to all of you guys. It's very nice to have you all accompany me for this game of internet crazy taxi. My goal is to spread new viewpoints, inspire conversation, and create entertaining media for everyone to enjoy. Hopefully you signed on because of one of those core principles, otherwise I have no idea what I'm doing up here. Anyway, stay tuned for more content on retro gaming, pitch videos, and thought experiments based on films and video games. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty, starting with some notes I wanted to briefly mention about the latest video essay I did comparing the NES and MSX2 versions of Metal Gear. This video is probably what brought the newest wave of people into my channel. A majority of the feedback I've gotten from that video was very positive and was a massive confidence booster. I've had some personal issues regarding my content not really taking off last year, and while I'm immensely proud of that video for what it accomplished with y'all's help, there are some things a few people pointed out that I wanted to address for consistency's sake and to let you guys know that I actively read every comment I get. First of that being this fella here, Shuni Valdez, who let me know his appreciation for me crediting the sources I used. I want to let everybody know that for everything that I do here, I will be making an active effort to credit the people and places I get my information from. I took a journalism class in high school, and the mentality to cite your sources stuck with me from that time. Having people know I'm not just pulling information out of a hat is kind of important to me. So all of the sources will be listed at the end of the video after the main event. I'll even be working on labeling the footage I find and use for supplemental material during the editing process as well, so that it's easier to distinguish what's my own original recording and what isn't. Thanks for noticing that. Next is an observation by the guy in there, who pointed out my avatar's likeness to Lupin III. I'm glad somebody pointed that out and posted it in a comment, cause I know these videos don't typically do well compared to the others. But yes, I used the character Lupin III as the inspiration for this ping persona to go on my videos. I started my journey with Lupin III after a friend of mine recommended I binge all of part 2 last year, and I think his attire fits the aesthetic I'm pushing for on this channel. Expect this guy to be the face of the channel for a long time. And right here is a bit of criticism from user Tuxie's Magical Jukebox 5431, who wanted to point out to me that there have been recorded evidence of Mr. Kojima actively saying praises for Snake's Revenge, when in my video I directly state that both the NES and unofficial sequel to Metal Gear canon were disappointing and even reviled by him. There was a bit of conflicting evidence around this topic, so I just wanted to demonstrate my understanding of the events and why exactly I went with the version of the story that I did for clarity's sake. To start, Tuxie is completely right. In an interview with Stephen Kent for Gamers Today in 1999, Hideo Kojima said that Snake's Revenge was, quote, faithful to the original Metal Gear concept, and that he enjoyed it. So from this perspective, it seems like he says he appreciates it. However, I want to bring attention to this second instance where it was mentioned in 2009, where Kojima put on a presentation at the Game Developers Conference that year, during which he addresses both the NES version of Metal Gear and Snake's Revenge, describing them as, quote, somewhat of a crappy game. So only 10 years after his original statement, before the rapid success of the franchise and his rise to fame, Kojima had seemingly changed his opinion on this game. Well, it wouldn't be long after that before he changed his mind yet again, as in an interview with Nintendo Power in June of 2011, he described Snake's Revenge as something he, quote, doesn't consider to be a bad game, which is an incredibly middling statement that doesn't swing too hard in either direction. I found all three of these statements and more during my initial research before making this video, and it took some time for me to actually piece together what Kojima possibly could have meant or felt towards Metal Gear for the NES and Snake's Revenge. And the words I used and stand by are reviled and disappointed. It's no secret Kojima doesn't like the NES version of Metal Gear. It stripped away elements he personally opted to put in the game, and several key concepts just weren't implemented that already existed in the original. I think that's not arguable at all. However, I think the more contentious point that's worth debating is Kojima's mixed feelings on Snake's Revenge. The problem I have with taking, oh, he liked it because he said so this one time right after it was made, and just running with that, is that Kojima has said other things about Snake's Revenge as time has gone on. In one instance, going so far as to calling the game a piece of crap. Even later, when the topic came up again, he didn't entirely walk back his statements either. He simply just said it wasn't a bad game, which means he also didn't say it was a good game. It's this back and forth that I got through these statements that made me finally land on he was probably disappointed in it. If there were more recorded statements that I could find, or even something more recent than 2011, I'd probably have bowed to that when producing this video. However, this is all information that I've gathered on the subject, and certainly didn't go into this with the intent to spread misinformation. So if that's what you took away from this video, well, I'm sorry that you feel that way, and I'll try to do better. This guy, C. Zeke, posted a comment that I find equal parts baffling and hilarious, and I had to confirm it for myself in a playthrough I did after that video went live. And it's true. If the player enters the room with Metal Gear's supercomputer in it at the end of the game, and they just hold the right directional button, the player will glitch into the door trigger for the actual final boss versus Big Boss. You don't have to blow up the computer at all, which means you don't have to rescue as many hostages. And because you didn't destroy the computer, the self-destruct sequence doesn't activate, and you have all the time in the world to defeat Big Boss. Now that is what I call anticlimactic. Just omit everything about the Metal Gear from the title at that point. Jeez. And finally, I wanted to bring up a comment that was left by Tifosif1222, who got me to fact check myself for accuracy. In the beginning of the video, when I go over the reasons why Konami wanted a version of Metal Gear in the US, I explained that there were differences over the power consumption laws and hardware limitations that existed in different countries outside of Japan. This led to a massive influx of electronic equipment and nearly crashed the video game market in the 1980s, but was kept alive by a console war during that era between the two biggest competitors. I was correct in saying that this was a war between Sega and Nintendo, but what I was not correct about was what consoles they fought that war with. In the video, I said it was the 16-bit Sega Genesis and Nintendo's Entertainment System. However, this is just blatantly false, as the Genesis didn't exist in the US until 1989, whereas the NES launched in America in 1985. There's no way that they could have been direct competition like that until the very end of the NES's lifespan. The correct Sega console of the early 1980s was actually the Master System, which released in America in 1986. Again, credit to this guy for pointing that out to me. I guess the place I got my information from regarding retro video game lore had me confused while I was taking notes. I'll be sure to triple check my work before I click that render button. Again, I just want to thank everybody who watched that video and left a like and a comment. It did really well in its first week alone, jumping to over 1,000 views in less than 6 days. It really means a lot that something I created, despite how small, could have jumped in popularity like that. I'll link that video below for anyone who didn't get to see it yet or just wants to watch it again for the hell of it. If you do that though, just watch this video first. The algorithm apparently hates leaving videos halfway through. But let's look onward into the future now, shall we? We just started a new year. A new year means new promises, resolutions, and ambitions for the world over. I know there's a lot we think of in poor hindsight about 2023, so I wanted to take a minute to highlight what's happening in the direct future for me and my little channel here. If you follow me on Twitter, you might have seen a post or two about the technical malfunctions I've been having to deal with lately. Basically, I have a whole new computer. I've been hard at work on my Metal Gear and Outlast sequological tendencies videos, and even started work on my first episode of Here's the Pitch, and my next video essay on Bungie's Oni. But during the editing process, I just kept running into roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. Don't use Wondershare Filmora. Just don't. This program was great to start, but I think there's something fundamentally wrong with the version 13 release of this software that just makes it god-awful to work on. As far as I can tell, the only difference between 12 and 13 was the introduction of the AI features in this thing that help with audio and filter functionality. But even when I was working on chopping up my previous videos into shorts for YouTube and TikTok, Filmora 13 would crash unexpectedly and unpredictably. I would click on a video to preview to make sure they had the clip that I wanted, and it would crash. I would drop a photo on the timeline, and it would crash. I would split a video file in half on the timeline, and it would crash. There was just no helping this thing. I cleared my registry with CCleaner, I started my computer multiple times, I uninstalled and reinstalled my graphics card drivers. I even backdated and then re-upgraded my copy of Filmora 2 times. And still, every time I opened one of these projects, the programs would crash and my progress would be lost. It got so bad that I had to hit Ctrl S after every click so that way I wouldn't miss an edit. This carried on for 2 weeks before I said fuck it and went nuclear on my computer. So, as of January 12th, 2024, my entire computer was completely reset. I got a new copy of Windows 11 and installed it on my C drive. That erased all temporary data and programs that were installed on it before. I changed from Streamlabs to OBS Classic. I reinstalled my Elgato recording equipment and drivers. I installed DaVinci Resolve instead of Wondershare Filmora. I even installed the onboard MSI software that I refused to install when I built this computer a year ago. The only things that carried over were the project files and previously made content from before the setup, which was a bunch of shorts, videos, and video scripts, and the Steam games I had installed to a secondary drive just for the video game storage. This is effectively a hard reset on my entire setup, and I couldn't be happier. Feels like a true fresh start for the new year. Unfortunately, this also brings a bit of setback for certain things. For instance, I may still have all the project files for the videos I was working on, but now all of the paths to their documents and any temporary data being held onto by Filmora were destroyed. So I have to re-record the scripts I voiced and edit the audio tracks all over again. I also have to recollect all of the image and video data to use for those projects, and basically start over on each of them since they've all been removed from the main drive. Yeah, that includes the 2.5 hours of progress I made on the 5-hour Metal Gear video and the hour of progress on the Outlast video. Basically, it was a total wipe of the progress that I made and it all has to be restarted. But I haven't given up. This all just means that I have to start from like 25% instead of 0%. I have everything I need save for the recorded scripts, so I just have to put it all together again. And with this new commitment I made last month, I'm totally in the zone to produce more content for everybody. It just means I have to start small and get stuff out in a reasonable time and do it sequentially instead of working on things all at once. Work on the smaller videos first and get those out regularly and release the bigger videos when I can. I'm still on course to get February's videos out in a timely manner too, so at least those videos will be done on time. January may look a little fuzzy, but I'm planning on having to at least have 2 videos out for you guys before the end of the month. These 2 are my pitch for a Meganimanic original horror game and my retrospective / analysis on Bungie's Oni for the PC, Mac, and PS2. So look forward to those within the coming weeks. Overall, I'm super excited and invigorated. I'm actively working on new content every day, and the newfound boost of support from everybody who liked the NES Metal Gear video have really put some pep in my step. I appreciate each and every single one of you guys here, and I look forward to getting more out the door for y'all. Hopefully the end result is worth it for you guys as well, and I'm gonna give it my all to try and achieve that result. Stay tuned for more retro video games, movie and TV talk, and a lively discussion on pop culture through the years. That's about all I have for this video, you guys, so I'm gonna get out of here. Remember to stay awesome, and to be kind and rewind. Excelsior.